maybe it was the miseducation of the Negro versus the miseducation of the albino, which is the video that got flagged down. I should probably play this at the beginning so you know what I'm talking about. That was the video that got flagged down. That's the video you're watching right now. Um, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to cut this part out and put it at the beginning. This is the intro. The miseducation of the albino versus the miseducation of the Negro. I know how this video was flagged down. I know why it was flagged down. I know how it was flagged down, I should say. I know why it was flagged down. So I'm not going to play dumb. I'm just going to tell you exactly what happened. And I'm going to play the video. So you're going to see the video. It was flagged down for hate speech. I would have a lot more evidence for what I'm going to say, to the point where it wouldn't be any questioning of it. Matter of fact, there are ways I could prove it. It's just a lot more difficult now. But I know why the video was flagged down. It was flagged down because I got into some weird Twitter beef with some white nationalist character on Twitter. And it started kind of out of the blue because I was commenting on a tweet about black inventors, and it had a list of different black inventors, and I'm saying people classified as black, in America. So mostly American inventors, dusky American inventors, if you will. And I could see that it wasn't really accurate. And a matter of fact, I had even responded, how y'all gonna invent a guitar in 18 something when there's guitars in ancient Egypt? Like, it was doing stuff like that. I remember also tweeting because somebody responded, wait, black people invented air conditioning? And because it quoted like an air conditioning invention on there. And I realize that when it comes to air conditioning, people have been conditioning the air for like thousands of years, melanated people especially, because it's hot. So that maybe they're talking about electric air conditioning. And also understand that the electric air conditioning, the model for that, goes back to that geeky looking brother who worked with Edison, Latimer. I think it's Lewis something Latimer. He was a fine inventor. He may have invented the light bulb. I don't know, because brother, if we invent a light bulb, we ain't inventing it. That back then, if you had the invention for the light bulb, you weren't going to get credit for it. But he has a lot of different patents, and I understood that he had a patent for an air conditioning. So I basically responded, air conditioning and video games. A week goes by, and this Twitter dude is showing me like a video game system, the first quote video game system, the Odyssey. And we kind of going back and forth because I'm like, how you gonna call it a video game system when it didn't even have video? It didn't even have audio. Matter of fact, if you look it up, and this is kind of hard backstory to go to, but the reason why I brought up video games is because I consider Fairchild Channel F. Now, if you look that up, the first console with cartridges, it's known as the Fairchild Channel F. Just look it up. Look up the Fairchild Channel F. Came out, I think, 77, 76. Had a bunch of games. It had a game, I think, one of the like political games. Some you didn't see. You still don't see those games. Like a game where you can run for president and shit. Because they had a game called Democrat. Now look up the Fairchild Channel F. And look up who designed it. Not who invented it. Yeah, it's Jerry. Like, if you look up the guy who designed it, and one thing I get is I don't know if it's Jerry with a G or Jerry with a J. It's kind of both, because it's Gerald with a G, but he goes by Jerry, or he passed in 2011, but he went by Jerry Lawson, and he was a designer and engineer for the Fairchild Channel F. So I'm on a debate, and it isn't even a debate because I knew what he was talking about. Like, I have a rule when it comes to debating: I only debate when I know I'm right, and I only debate when I have the ability to change my mind. I'm letting him, change my mind on this. He's saying that this isn't the first video game console. Really, that isn't why I made the tweet. Because I would even accept, because there was a console that came before it. Now, it didn't have video. You had to put decals on the screen. Look up, and this is one thing you got to look up so you'll know what I'm talking about. Look up the Magnavox Odyssey. I might even pull this up. Matter of fact, just look up Magnavox Odyssey and overlays. Oh, man, let me see. Let me pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up on Google Image. To see if. And Magnavox Odyssey 1. The Magnavox Odyssey 2 had a whole lot more to it. Yeah, if you look it up, and you might have to scroll down a little bit, but you'll see decks of cards, BB guns. When you see graphics, that's a 2. And you might see, like, if you look long enough, you'll see screen overlays. Like, you had to put decals on your television because, like I said, it didn't have graphics. So I credit Jerry Lawson as being a major inventor when it comes to video games, the inventor when it comes to video games. And the reason why is because at the state in which video games were in, there were no game systems that, home game systems that had video. You had the Magnavox Odyssey where you had to literally put stuff on your television screen. All it had was like a cursor. It was basically DOS with decals. Now everybody knows that's not gonna ride. That's not enough. So the next move is media, separate media. Actually, that wasn't even a definite. It was just, that was kind of like the inventive thing. But I'll credit the Magnavox Odyssey because it had different like versions of cursors moving depending on what chip you put in. And since the Sega Master System later had chips, I might have a video game channel coming up. Matter of fact, I will have a video game channel that you can subscribe to. I'm too knowledgeable when it comes to video games. I'm in the video game industry. I will have a 42 Tribes video game channel coming up. I might even just say sports and video games because to me they go hand in hand in a way. But the Sega Master System had cards, so it was pioneering in the sense that you could change DOS. You could change the way you move the cursor around, and that fit in with having screen overlays because you could put like a maze and then you want a smaller cursor to move through the maze, or if you have like 3 cursors, then you might want to have like a hockey thing or something like that and move the puck around. That was the limit to it. So moving forward, Jerry Lawson becomes the designer of the Fairchild, which had cartridges, sound, video, AI, all things that the Magnavox Odyssey didn't have. And the reason why they chose him is because he made this game. And if you look up Jerry Lawson and you look up, I'm trying to think of the name of the game, Demolition Derby, I believe. Demolition Derby. I'm gonna look that up. Okay, I pulled up Demolition Derby. He made that in his garage. The company he was working for, Fairchild, peeped that and said, okay, you're designing the the first game system with video. Now you could argue that the Magnavox Odyssey, the first home game system with video, the Magnavox Odyssey did not have video or audio. Now you could say DOS's video, you got a black screen and a cursor. Well, shit. If that's the case, you can go way back to the military shit. And, you know, there were computers that were doing that down there 50 years ago. You know, there was stuff like that you could buy for the home if you're going to go that route. And, hey, here's the thing. Like I said, even if you change my mind enough to where I'm like, okay, credit giving to the Magnavox Odyssey for whatever, the pioneer designer is still Jerry Lawson. So I'm like, video games and air conditioning. And then we got into it with air conditioning. And I'm looking at this dude in air conditioning because the guy I was talking about, Latimer, he has a patent on an electric air conditioner. Actually, I don't even know if it was electric. And older than the stuff that he was quoting. You know, because he was arguing against the that tweet, and that tweet had some stuff that was wrong. You know, I'll be real about that. It had some shit that was wrong. So I'm like, but I knew about stuff that was older than the tweet, you know, like guitars. But I gotta give props where it's due, man. To Jerry Lawson and to Latimer. They are very pioneering when it comes to early electric devices and video games, home video games. Because what he did in his garage, the reason why the company is simple. Like, it's been a while since I studied his story. I mean, it would make for a great movie, really. But the reason why the company had him design that F-channel system was because they looked at it like, who would not want Demolition Derby in their house? You know what I mean? That would be like the coolest thing. Like, I'd want that. If I could get a copy of the original Demolition Derby, I'd have it in my living room. You're in the 70s and you got steering wheels on below a screen, and you can control a car. And other cars are driving around and you're trying to wreck them. In the 70s? That shit was ahead of its time. And, you know, like, you wouldn't see anything like that even in the arcades, I don't think, until a few years down the road. Definitely didn't see it in people's houses until I don't even know if the first brand of Atari games had anything like that, because they had some stuff that might have been better in the sense that there was more to do, but you got a whole bunch of cars on the screen and a steering wheel, and you riding around trying to wreck each other. Man, that is so ahead of its time. Yeah, I wonder if there's anything on YouTube that shows that game being played. Because I remember it. Hold on. Let's see. Nah, they only got the new versions. Well, let me get to the video, because that's basically this dude. He had a bunch of followers. Somebody pulled him off of Twitter, and I kind of get it, because he was an asshole on Twitter. I'm glad they did what they did. You know, he was one of them people that is arguing that the Moors were albinos, like albino people that are classified as white today. Moors, you know, in lockstep, not talking about, you know, a handful of them or a percentage, but, you know, he was, and doing it in a rude and trollish manner, you know, not somebody that's actually inquiring and wants to know the truth. This dude was one of them guys that are trying to whitewash Moors, which to me is nuts, considering there's plenty of stuff on them. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to where you can make an argument for that. But then, see, here's the thing. If you go by historic record, you can find examples of like the people that invaded Spain having, different complexions and coming from different ethnicities and stuff like that. So that really isn't nothing. But the thing is, somebody is going to be like, well, look at this picture and 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 listen to this tale and listen to this description and look at this picture. And, there's so much to where, and I played this in another one of my videos, like when they have festivals for Moors, you got people who are albino classified as white and they're dressed up in blackface. So you gonna have somebody in blackface, like even Black Pete. It's Black Pete. If you look up Black Pete, the sidekick of Santa Claus, Black Pete, he was a Moor from Spain, and that's why he was black. The whole thing about him turning black because he went down the chimney and some ash got on him, that was so they could continue to dress up in blackface and not make fun of black people. So how you go whitewash the Moors and you way off code from these other albinos classified as white? The ones that live in Europe more so, they putting on blackface, fake melanin. So anyhow, that's how it got flagged down. As much like you'll listen to the video and you would think the person that would want to flag down the video would be Dr. Ali Muhammad, because I'm way harder on Dr. Ali Muhammad than I am the miseducation of the albino. And hey, here's the thing. Calling people albinos the way I do it cannot be construed as hate speech. Because the reason why I call them albinos is not as an insult saying that they had a recent mutation. It's because, and I even say this in the video, so you can't misconstrue this. I think I referred to another video where I say it. The reason why I say it is because they have the same pigment mutations as albinos all throughout the animal kingdom, including humans and all that. They share the same types of, and this is the one area where I will apologize. I think a more politically correct word, and really I shouldn't even apologize, but I will say this. And the reason why is because it's always like bigots that have a problem with political correctness anyway. But for the sake of the people who are not bigots, yet still have questions or a feeling about why I call people classified as white, albinos classified as white, I will say this. It's not, and this, I won't even say this is being politically correct. This is just being straight up. It's a fluctuation instead of a mutation. Does that sound better? Okay. So, they have the same fluctuations as albino things, down to plants, I think. Well, actually, plants, it's not the same gene classification, but with fish on to reptiles, mammals, it's the same mechanics. So that you're classified as white, which albino means white anyway. It's funny because that's a lot like with Negro. Negro means black anyway. But at least we have some objective science behind it. And because everything is so coded, I decode things by being overly objective. Like when I hear people talking about liberals and sometimes even when they talk about conservatives, ask them, what is a conservative? When people talk about God, what's a God? Because everything is so coded, people are always trying to shit each other. I try to be completely objective. And if I'm being completely objective, then due to having the same fluctuations, the people that are classified as white are albinos by birth. by what they have inside their body. That's as objective as you can get. None of them are born, nobody is born with a label saying what they are. So that is a classification created by people. Matter of fact, all race is opinion. And I say this to melanated people, and that's why I call them melanated. And I might say black and all that. I might say white. But when I'm trying to be objective to build, I'm double objective when it comes to race, because it is all opinion. And to me, this is a good video. So I'm going to just play it. This to me is a good video. Danger! Danger, danger, danger. I'm a problem, Mr. Grinch. Hey, this is a quick update. I'm going to go on vacation. Happy? God damn, I was a happy fella. I was looking forward to leaving town, go relax. I was working too hard. Because I remember when I did this video, it was right before I went on vacation. And it's good to hear myself happy. Now I'm back to the grind and I'm a little more somber. So if you don't hear from me in like 2 weeks, it's because I am dead. When I get back, I'm going to tackle that whole Wikipedia thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the video series. At least watch the third. I need a vacation. I need to get away. So that is what will happen. But before I go, I need to leave you with this. I'm going to have, this is just, I'm going to have to teach. I'm going to have to teach. That this video was flagged down, and I know it was this guy on Twitter, because right after this happened, all of my videos had a whole bunch of dislikes. And let me tell you, it ain't coming from Ali Muhammad. Because if it was coming from Ali Muhammad, it would happen sooner. You know what I mean? I put somebody's face as a thumbnail and it has like 200 views. It's going to go to, it had a lot of views quick. I put it in a not a Twitter feed, a Facebook feed where I know it was going to have some views. And I know people that know people, it was going to go to Dr. Ali Muhammad. And I had some dislikes early. And I think that might have been coming from that. Dr. Ali Muhammad was probably, I don't know, but right after that whole thing on Twitter, and you can look at my videos now, dislike, everything, whole bunch of dislikes. Like, I was definitely targeted by that dude's followers. Because here's the thing, his account is down. This is why it's harder to show evidence. He didn't just have this little back and forth Twitter beef where his followers are reading him. He went through all of my tweets, found some shit I posted in 2015, went into my YouTube account, screenshotted it, and was putting that out to his followers in all kind of bastardized context to make it seem that I had real psychological issues with people classified as white. I mean, and I give you an example of how he would take something out of context. I can give 2 examples, but let me be quick. I said, no, he took some of my videos where I mentioned albino. Maybe it was the Neanderthal video, I don't know. Maybe it was the miseducation of the Negro versus the miseducation of the albino, which is the video that got flagged down. I should probably play this at the beginning so you know what I'm talking about. But he highlighted that, and he argued, I bet you're one of those people that says that all people were black in every area, and like Native Americans and Europeans, and they were all black and Chinese. And my response was, no, I never said that. I don't believe that, But this is after he'd had all kinds of replies. And all his followers were looking at it, and that's right around the time when I got all these dislikes. I was being targeted. And it was a lie, because I argue that white skin predates humans. It predates Homo habilis. Now, was it white people in great number, comparatively speaking, to melanated people? No. Not based on the location, no. I don't think so. Like, no. Homo sapiens were probably melanated by and large, but you always had the machinations to produce white skin. So there was white skin because, I'll be politically correct, fluctuations happen. They happen at rates that are common enough to where white skin existed. Just like it exists all throughout the animal kingdom right now. It exists in humans. It existed. So he was bullshitting to make me seem like I am some kind of bigot and as a means to target me. And he was going through old shit. I could give other examples. At least one other example. Because I didn't go through his channel that much. I was busy. I was busy with other stuff. But I saw 2 instances where he was going through old shit of mine and, well, his Twitter feed. I didn't go through that. But he was going through old shit of mine and it was getting retweeted and people were talking shit about me. And I'm like, the white supremacist Twitter groups were murmuring. I'm like, and it wasn't even, it was bullshit. Stuff out of context. If you want to say something based on what I really believe and you're going to take offense to that, okay, well, that's life. But they weren't even they weren't even dealing with the stuff that I'm really saying, that I really believe. Like, it was a target based on fake shit. And I'm looking at them like, I don't like you people. I don't like you. You're targeting me, not even watching my videos and just disliking them. And your dumbasses are doing it based on bullshit. It's not even the stuff I really believe. If you had a problem with the stuff I really believe, hey, I can deal with that. That's life. Look, not everybody's going to agree with me. But that's not what was happening. He took stuff out of context, was bullshitting about it, and I think he did it to the wrong person, because it wasn't me that got him kicked out of Twitter. That got that account deleted. Like I said, I'd show all of this, but now I can only show the responses to it because his account is gone. All of his stuff is gone off Twitter. And based on his exchanges with other people, he was worse with other people than he was me. So that's why. And he won't be missed. Fuck him. Like, if you're going to go through all of my stuff and disagree with me, at least disagree with me on something. Don't make some shit up or take something out of context. Be straight up. Be an adult with me. Be a man, be a woman. Don't be a bitch. And that's why he probably got kicked off of Twitter, is he was aggravating people as a bitch would. That white supremacist shit, sometimes they can get snarky and bitch-like. Why don't you say? What the hell am I talking about? I think I got... And I'm just gonna have a little competition. And you can decide. I'll give my opinion at the end on which miseducation is worse, the miseducation of the Negro, or as I prefer to call it, Los Negros, and the miseducation of the albino. And this is a good competition. Just to give you kind of a heads up, I don't think Dr. Ali Muhammad can hang when it comes to miseducating. And the reason why is because of me. Because I'm doing this. I'm turning some miseducation into a learning experience. So let's get to it. Why don't you say? I have to listen to this to hear it for myself. Let's go. Dr. Amelie Muhammad.
Framework, you don't understand the legal or lawful implications of using terms. And so when I use the term Aboriginal, I'm using it in this lawful, legal context to classify myself. That's a part of understanding the history. Now, on the AOO, and these 8 people who were found, let's ask Garfield the serious question. How many people did they test in America as opposed to how many people they tested in the Cameroon? The reason why they didn't test as many people in America as they tested in the Cameroon is the same reason why our folk believe life started in Africa.
What amazes me the most is how he is consistently wrong about everything. And it's a bad foundation that basically just falls down the stairs, shits the bed, blows out a lung. I mean, it's not a good look, Dr. Ali Muhammad. But at least I can say he's somewhat confused. Like, I don't think he's well, put like this. I talked about this with Lex Vortex. It comes from the fear of death, and a lot of Abrahamics have it. I have it, even though I'm not Abrahamic. Most people have it, I would think. And I've heard Dr. Ali Muhammad say, I refuse to believe in the common story in scientific journals about evolution. And I'm like, okay, then how are you going to challenge it? The problem here is he's not challenging it. He's not challenging evolution. He's creating like a paper tiger or something, like this fake thing to challenge. And he starts off with not understanding what A00, it's a haplogroup. People have been tested for it. He's sitting next to Garfield. Garfield has probably been tested for it because he's had an ancestry test. Most people that get ancestry tests have been tested for it. If you've had 23andMe, if you've had like the NetGeo tests, I know my haplogroup. Sonetter had an ancestry test. Most likely he's sitting next to someone who's been tested for A000, and there's someone across from him who's been tested for A000. So he's creating this false narrative that people are coming from America because the oldest haplogroup is found in America, saying it's because we aren't testing enough African Americans. African Americans get tested aplenty. Like, who do you know but African Americans that get ancestry tests? I think I was going strong until then. Like, I'm clearing it up. That's why I did this video, and it should stay up. That's why I put it back up. Because there's really that. Now, of this video, it's 46 minutes, the original video, the miseducation of the Negro versus miseducation of the albino. In 38 minutes was Dr. Ali Muhammad. But it was the miseducation of the albino that struck back our line with the forces of YouTube to flag the video down. For that, I will say, I love you, Brother Ali Muhammad. You take your licks like a soldier. But you butt-sensitive albinos classified as white, I ain't got no words for you. Because I was doing good explaining what was wrong with his statements. I think I kind of got overgeneralized because, yeah, there are other people that get ancestry tests, I would think. With African Americans, if you're sitting around 10 of them, nowadays, it's like 3 of them, like, you had your 23andMe? Yep, and other ones are like, what's that? Good, blah, 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 blah. How much is it? Blah, 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 blah. It seems like it's a lot more common where if there's like a albino dude classified as white, because like in this country, we got albinos even though it's like Latin for white, we got albinos that are classified as black, which just goes to show you how ridiculous race is. Because that's literally saying that if I say I'm a black albino, it's basically saying I'm a black white. Which is just too much bullshit for me to stomach, so I try to be objective. The people classified as white, they don't want you to be objective. They want you to go along with their bullshit. And they will ally with the forces of YouTube and say that you're speaking hate speech. Now, have you heard any hate speech yet? Has anybody heard any? Goddamn, have you heard any hate speech? Have you? Because if you have, then let me know. Stop being bitches, YouTube. If this is flagged to you, listen to it. And if there's some hate speech in it, then be specific. Because I don't hear any hate speech. I'm happy as fuck. I'm about to go on vacation. And I'm educating people who need it badly. You got people in Africa that are putting up giant statues of albino people classified as white in their country, talking about that's God and shit, because they've been miseducated. So they need me to untangle their mind. I'm needed. Garvey said, get that fucking weave off your hair and deal with the naps in your head. Garvey said it. So let me continue to educate. I just had to pause that. And one of the reasons why Africans are tested, not as much, but as African Americans, is so their genetics can line up with African Americans. It's a bad foundation. And then he makes it worse.
Because white people told us and gave us this concept of evolution from these various forms of hominids that must have took place in Africa. So then they focused us on.
It's a haplogroup. I know my haplogroup. Like, I've been tested. Most likely the people he's sitting next to have been tested. So then the leap in logic based on a false foundation, not understanding that A00 is, if you're tested for ancestry, most likely you're tested for the haplogroup. So then he takes that false foundation and he builds off of it. And I don't get the logic at all. Like, A00. The oldest haplogroups, you get A, okay? You can't go before A in the alphabet, so you have A. Then you find one that's older, and it's like, this is A1. Then older than that is A0. Then older than that is A00. It's just an old haplogroup, and it's rare, so only 8 African Americans have it so far. More Africans have it, and that's the thing. He's saying that it's because we're not testing African Americans for haplogroups. Like, I don't understand how he could get that wrong. And he's getting it wrong with balls in hand, like confident in what he's saying and getting it wrong. And the problem, though, is he's building off of it. You know what I mean? And what he builds is even worse than this initial mistake. I got some blank slides. Okay, let me see. This is it. He's saying that the reason why they test more people in Africa is the reason why you have all these belief that the human race came from Africa. That's kind of what he's saying, paraphrasing. But this is the reason why you have the whole out of Africa thing, and why you have all these hominids. It's just because bones are found. Old bones are found. They're matched up with modern hominids,
gorillas, chimpanzees. Most of these on here are extinct.
Hate speech yet? We're almost a quarter in. I'm just saying, if you do, then pause the video and say, look at the time in which you hear it, and then put that in the comments for me, okay? And this is especially to YouTube, because you allowed this video to get flagged down. You could have held yourself and said, I watched the video and I don't hear any hate speech. What you talking about? And if you would have looked at the pattern in which I was having my dislikes, or I even sent you pictures of the shit when it was still up, when his account was still up. I sent YouTube pictures of this, saying that this guy is targeting me. So, are you hearing any hate speech yet? That's all I'm wondering.
Up here you got this is Neanderthal, Florensis, Heidelbergensis, Antecessor, Homo helmi, or Homo, I don't know if that's helmi or Jaime, Heidelbergensis again. So you got two species, or two, I think it's like subspecies. And a lot of this is estimations. Homo sapien ildautus, Homo sapien sapien. This goes back 15 million. Most of these go back 7. Yeah, you got chimpanzees, they kind of broke off here, dipped, and they're up here because they're still around. This is why you have the people talking about, that humanity came from Africa, because the oldest humans, these are humans right here, the Homo species are the humans. And look, I'm just saying this is what evolution is. If you're going to challenge it, then be specific, because a lot of this stuff may be wrong. And the way you can find out if it's wrong, first you got to have a better foundation than saying we aren't testing for A00, because you're sitting next to people who've been tested for it. I've been tested for it. I don't have A00. It's rare. Because his foundation is a conspiracy. I'm like, dude, build on the tangible stuff. If you think that these bones and skulls are fake, hey, interview some people, talk to some people that were in the studies. Record it, catch them in a lie. You can't get a whistleblower for all these bones. Keep it going.
On the ideology that we derive ourselves from these particular types of primate, or this primate family. And I disagree with it, and so does damn near every indigenous text on the planet. Okay. And so when we come, let me finish.
He doesn't disagree with it. It's his dogma. He says he refuses to believe it. That's different than disagreeing. Refusing to believe means I could give you all kinds of evidence and you're like, I'm not going to believe that, so let me find a reason why. That's a major difference. It's tough to really keep consistent with the classifications. But he says, evolve from these primates. Okay. It's just, you got to include to really, if you're going to, assuming he was actually examining this, that modern humans are a type of primate too. So saying that we came from primates, let's look at what's in common with primates. Let's deal with the actual definition of the words and not like this fake paper tiger. I don't know what kind of logical fallacy it is.
When we come to science and we start dealing with genetics, and I did this with Ark when he was in here.
It's going to go really bad. Now, it's going to go beyond pseudosci. Let me just give a quick, show you what it looks like. These, and this is like, if you're going to challenge evolution, challenge this. According to consensus science, what most scientists know that they have to challenge if they want to break new ground. That's the key right there. What do you specifically have to challenge to create knowledge? Where do you have to be better than the consensus? I'm just going to lay it out there, show you what it is. I'm not saying, like me, I proved evolution for myself last year in the Black Neanderthal and Eurocentrism video. So all of this stuff is okay. I'm looking at the narrative and I'm scrutinizing. These are the first, I don't know if you want to call them people. These are the first humans. Original humans, Homo habilis. Goes back to like 2.3 million. Different hair textures or whatever. That's a lot of this stuff is based on subjective science. Some good science when you're dealing with the skull, but when you're dealing with soft tissue, skin color, hair texture, it becomes subjective. Eye color, you can only look at nearest ancestors. So this is Homo habilis. All these three right here at the base of when you have humans. Not Homo sapiens like us, obviously, even though I've seen somebody who's kind of cool, like, might resemble one of these people. One of these old schoolians. Now this, I cannot pronounce this name. If I had it next to me, I might, but some good sized skulls have been found. So you've had some different recreations. And as you can see, these are all hominids. These are old school hominids, like 6-7 million years ago, right? These are old school humans about 3 million years ago. This is what you got to challenge, to break new ground. And I'm disappointed at Dr. Ali Muhammad. I expect better. Because he's not challenging evolution. He's found, like I said, everything he's going to say is wrong. And a lot of it comes back to even before the foundation. If you have the attitude that I refuse to believe, that means the evidence is just going to confuse you. Or confuse other people when you come up with this reason why it ain't working. Now, I like to use, and I'm jazzing this up, this is Heidelbergensis. Two different, I guess, subspecies. I guess it would be two different species. Heidelbergensis. This is Homo heine. Okay. It's Homo erectus. These are, and like I said, some of it is subjective, but it's based on whole skulls. There's lots of Homo erectus skulls. Homo erectus got around, went all over the place. Homo heidelbergensis, I think like North Mid Africa or something like that. I'm not sure. La Prehistoria. Where is La? That's right here. So that's about 5-6 million years ago. And looks like Anamensis. The split that led to orangutans. And then back here, 15 million years ago, proconsul. There's proconsul again. This is a split that shows like modern primates. It goes back, I'm not sure how many million years ago, it's too far away. So I'm just showing this is like what if you want to break new ground, and this is anybody, if you want to break new ground, you challenge this stuff, and it's doable. And people ain't going to be able to pull off a conspiracy without somebody saying something eventually. So you just keep your ear to the ground. You listen. And that's what I'm saying. You got to do better than this. I expect more. I didn't even graduate college. This dude, he's a doctor. So I expect more.
Stupid it sounds. Most sub-Saharan Africans do not have Neanderthal DNA.
That's false. Everybody has Neanderthal DNA.
Are we hearing any hate speech yet? we're almost a good third way through this video, and let me, if you're hearing any, I want you to mark it and put it in the comments. So if you flag it, it's easy to refer to. So I'm just saying, we're about a third of the way in. If you're hearing any hate speech, then let me know. I'd appreciate it. Okay?
Let me skip forward and I'll explain why. Everything before the split, which was either Heidelbergensis, Homo erectus, in theory, but the split between the humans, mid-range, kind of late humans, where Neanderthals, and down here you have us, Homo sapien. Everything before that split is shared DNA. And that goes back to like the first cell in the ocean hundreds of million years ago. All of that code is carried until here, and then one has their own thing, one has their own thing. So we're like 99.9% Neanderthal. Maybe a little less, but over 99% Neanderthal. We all have Neanderthal DNA.
If they got Neanderthal DNA, it was via admixture with Eurasian groups at some particular point, right? So based
Not right.
on his...
Not right. Matter of fact, there's no hard evidence that anyone had mixed with Neanderthals. There's two theories, and one doesn't really get spoken about as often. You see, because there is shared genetics from everything coming here, which goes way back to life, first lives on Earth, became, and this shows African diversity, an example of African diversity, how bottlenecks become, how Neanderthal is discovered in Yoruba. It may be that, let's say, this diversity includes Neanderthal, right? Just because what's shared. That Neanderthal is not as visible in people who have more genetic diversity, who are less bottlenecked. If you lose other values, then you have more of the one that you didn't lose any of in comparison. Africans are more Homo sapien, more different types of Homo sapiens, more different types of early humans, more diversity. And in that percentage, less Neanderthal. That can be observed with the way we observe at what we consider to be admixture. But there is no, I won't say there's no guarantee. That's the wrong way of looking at it. I would just say that if you compare evidence that people outside of Africa have it because of they were having sex with Neanderthals, and the only Africans that have it are people who came back into Africa in different times. You have that theory, and you have the theory that it just shows up with them more because they have less of what would show up as admixture of different types of Homo sapiens, different types of the relatives of Homo sapiens. It's two theories. For now, I think one is as good as the other. There's no guarantee. Like I don't like to say it that way, but because there's really no guarantee of anything. You can only run your logic trees and figure out what makes sense based on your logic and your knowledge that you apply with. So there's no real guarantees, but I would say that the evidence isn't even strong that people bred with Neanderthals. And one way we'll be able to tell what's right and what isn't, and we're starting to see this anyway, is when you look at older Africans, like if you go back and you look at 3000 BC Africans and older than that remains or whatever, if you look at their DNA, and unfortunately with those old Homo sapiens that were found, I think in Mauritania and Morocco, they've been tested for age, not genetics. We can't really say for sure, but if they were closer to Neanderthal, it would prove this, that it's not admixture. It's kind of the opposite of admixture. It's bottleneck. You know, there was some Neanderthal in here, and now it drops in, and now there's more Neanderthal here than here when you look at it by percentage.
Theory of evolution that he's following. You following evolution to the T, brother, because you're talking about admixture. So I already know what you're following. Okay. Based on his theory, based on his theory, since Neanderthals have been dated older than Homo sapiens, right? That would mean that the groups who have the primary admixture with Neanderthals will actually be older than the Africans. What he's basically saying is the white man is the original man. What the fuck is going on in the House of Consciousness today, bro?
Oh, yo, hold. Huh? Say House of Consciousness, man.
Huh?
Nah, bro.
This is easy to find, man. You got to find this stuff. I'm disappointed. I'm on vacation. I'm about to, hop on a plane and go somewhere where there's sun. So this is like that day off before the vacation. This example, this is just humans. Now again, I didn't make this stuff up, but if you're gonna challenge evolution, this is what you gotta deal with. I didn't make this up. This is Denisovan. The Denisovans that have been tested are dark skinned too. I talked about that in that Black Neanderthal video. And again, I'm not saying that you didn't have albinos along with them. So what you have is, this is humans. I got them at the top because they're still alive. Neanderthals they died out recently, and so did the hobbits. Denisovan, they last a little longer. I probably should put Denisovan up higher, but I wanted to include all of the ones that are found here on this map. It's Heidelbergensis. That's Jaime. Erectus. Habilis, that stands for handyman. He's considered the first human because they're the ones that were building stuff. They rigged all kinds of stuff that previous primates, hominids, and hominids, I don't know, all the different types, that they didn't do. Orangutan will spear a fish and do some other things, with tools, and you've seen how, I think, chimps and gorillas, they'll get termites and sit there and snack. And all of this is subjective. Just like race is 100% opinion, all of this is 100% opinion, at least at its margins. You can say, okay, there's a difference between not building any tools and building some tools. And so at the core, yeah, there's some solid, tangible things to build on when you define things. But an inch here in the skull, a brain size capacity there, there, at the margins, it's opinion. It's a creation. This is what you have to challenge. And this is what's wrong is, let's say he was right. Let's say Neanderthals, the ones that we tested in Croatia, they're the exception. Most of them are albino. All the rest of these are coming out of Africa. Denisovans moved around, Homo erectus moved around. But all, from what we know, are coming out of Africa. They moved around too. If they're not coming out of Africa, their ancestor was. They're like breaking. Actually, it was Z, the hobbits that were outside Africa, and Denisovans. Homo erectus was everywhere. But you know what I'm saying? Like having a bottleneck or a mixture with Neanderthal, you're still dealing with humans that came out of Africa. So in that sense, like he could be right. I say one theory is as good as the other. Admixture or bottleneck, whatever. You know what I mean? It could be either or.
To bring it home. Let me go further with the point to bring it home. Do you know that in evolutionary biology, they teach that dark skin is an adaptation that came from a pale, hairy Neanderthal? Meaning that these pale people predate the original people with melanin, and that melanin is a mutation from pale skin. So you can't accept one part of it and not accept all of it. And so what I'm saying to the Amon Ra squad is, if you don't have your own written thesis on evolution, you follow white people.
I mean, it's just, he's making stuff up. Because like I said, the reason why you're starting to see Neanderthals portrayed like this is because they did not have albino mutations when they were tested.
Let me insert the political correct word and say fluctuations. I'll correct myself there. They did not have albino fluctuations when they were tested.
Really?
Yeah, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, you see what I mean? What I was saying, it's going to get worse, and it got worse. But there's still no hate speech. Are you hearing any hate speech? Remember, take the point in which it occurs in this video and place it in the comments. Okay, you see what I mean? Almost 40 minutes of the 46-minute video was dealing with Dr. Ali Muhammad and the, quote, miseducation of the Negro. Now, I don't like applying that word to Dr. Ali Muhammad. I am punning off of the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, and how he is miseducating. You can find on YouTube people reciting that book, and the title will be The Miseducation of the Negro. So what's really going on? And remember, I spoke about the whole thing with Twitter. I wasn't getting all these dislikes until I was targeted on Twitter.
They made Africa the cradle of humanity for their own deceptive purposes. What? You need to smoke some weed, bro. You really need to start smoking some weed. Let me puff pass. But even if they did, you're still dealing with out of Africa, down to Homo sapiens. Oldest Homo sapiens all over the place, 300,000 years, 200,000 years. West Africa is jumped to the forefront. Before that, it was East Africa. So you're dealing with melanated people because, like, say, look, at the bottom here, that's a chimp. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Not a chimp, that's a gorilla. That's Snowflake the gorilla. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Died of skin cancer. Different colors of skin has always existed. It's just you can't form a race of albinos all the time. Like with chimps, you got different colors. You got this one is like high yellow olive. This one's black, like black. Gums and teeth are nice, you know, but he's dark skinned. He's light skinned. He's white as I don't know what, and he died of skin cancer. It could be she, I don't know. It's inaccurate. He's talking about mixing with hominids, ancient hominids. There was no mixing with ancient hominids. They're ancient hominids. That's like back during the time where you split from orangutans, split from chimpanzees. Orangutans, they known to rape people. You never see anybody get pregnant by one, and that's kind of half rumor. Like I think it's true at least, but you know there was a serial rapist orangutan going around raping people and other orangutans. But point being is you're too far away. You're too different. Regardless of however much you share, you know how compatibility works. If it's, you know, a few lines of code, you know, if you're dealing with 99%, but out of a million things, you know, even though genes are weird, like just raw genes, we don't have that many. But when it comes to variations that can go into it and all the variations added up, it's in the millions. And then there's new mutations, millions and one. So it's just false because we talking a whole different era before humankind, before what we're now classifying as humans. And like I said, it's all subjective. Like I'm okay classifying some of these as human. I'm okay as types of humans. To me, like if I wasn't, then that's what I would have to deal with if I wanted to challenge evolution. He's not challenging it. He's just making some stuff up, freestyling, and it just ends up being an example of the miseducation of the Negro.
People. And you're basically saying that all of these white people, and even the Asians with the Denisovan DNA, they're all older than the pure African or the pure African.
Like I said, the Denisovans, they had the same pigment genes as dark-skinned Melanesians, dark-skinned Yoruba, or just, yeah, it wasn't albino Melanesians and albino Yoruba. I'm talking like they were black people. Neanderthals were black people, and the only way you can objectively define black people is based on pigment genes, right? Otherwise, like I said, race is opinion, but if you're going to be objective, you look at the genes that caused your skin to be dark. What do you have? And that's a tough out. You can't get around that. You test some Neanderthals, you test some Denisovans, and they have the same genes as black people. You know what 40 True Tribes is going to call them? I'm going to call them black people, too, because I am double objective. I don't try to create a facade. I live in the real world, and I'm cool with that. You know, I can see through bullshit because I'm not just going out to find anything I think I can run, any game I think I can run. I'm very much a skeptic, but you will never see me just making stuff up to bullshit people.
Aboriginal. I'm saying that is the biggest crock of bullshit that anybody could ever create.
You created it.
And that to follow it is stupid. And secondly, like
I agree, but you created it. You're not challenging evolution. You're challenging some stupid shit you created.
said, they only go to Africa to test because now they've made Africa the cradle of humanity for their own deceptive purposes.
Now, this is not true. And when I get to the miseducation of the albino, you'll see why that is not true.
Are you hearing any hate speech? If you are, remember, pause the video, look at where it occurs, and put it in the comments.
He might just beat the miseducation of the albino with that shit. That's the craziest shit I heard. I missed that the first time.
And so now, how many people here in the Americas have been tested for AOO genetics?
Every African American, every American period that's been tested knows their haplogroup has been tested for it. That's a lot of Brazilians. You know what I mean? That's a lot of people. And that's what I mean. He goes full circle. He don't know what he's talking about. This is not your lane, man. If it is, you got to step it up. This is bad. This is the worst I've heard, Dr. Ali Muhammad. Was this? He also said Mecca wasn't in the Quran, and that's a point of contention with Garfield. But I'll be honest, that's not my field. I don't really study the Quran. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, interesting. Like, because it's one of those things that where I'd have to fact check to have an opinion about it, because I don't know. But when he got to this part, I'm like, just give it up. I get it. You are in the Abrahamic faiths and you have to have the God. Now, you have the God, and then evolution looks like a whole bunch of busy work that don't make sense, so you refuse to believe it. Okay, stop there, please.
We would have to go through and do a selective study, just like they did in Cameroon, where we screen a certain amount of people to do it. Until you've done that, you're talking a bunch of bullshit. Right. You're the one that's pseudo. No, I ain't finished. You're the
Yeah, you're finished. I'm done. Man, you don't need all of this. It's just a haplogroup.
Pseudo. So now what he's doing is he's raising straw man arguments.
I'm not going to dignify that with a response, because this whole thing is a straw man
He's raising
argument.
straw man arguments, and then saying, we're all the American Aboriginals with AOO blood. Bruh.
It's not blood. It's a haplogroup. Is that what's messed up? Does he think it's a blood type? And even if it was a blood type, people know their blood types. Everybody gets tested for the blood type. Lots of people get tested for ancestry tests. This theory doesn't make sense, dude. You should just admit that you're wrong on this one, because your foundation is messed up. It's a rare haplogroup. That's why it's barely found. Imbo tribe. Look them up. Imbo tribe, they're old. Matter of fact, props to West Africa, the new. By East Africa. Nice run, but you're done. The new cradle of Homo sapien. West Africa. And yes, I know a lot of West Africans have East African ancestors. It showed up with me. But there are aspects of West Africa that are old, man. The oldest remains have been found, the oldest haplogroups. I'm talking AOO, AO, the oldest matrilineal. And now it's time for the miseducation of the albino. First ancestors came from Europe, not Africa. Not Africa. This is Newsweek. Now, let me give you a little bit of backstory on what this is about. Graciopithecus is 7.2 million years old, right? Found in Europe. This is only reconstruction because all that was found was teeth. And the teeth were more like humans than chimps, allegedly. So now it's like, wow, we got a humanish in just by teeth ancestor or cousin. Now, the media didn't report it as or cousin because orangutans made it out to Asia. You know what I mean? So even when they was walking on the knuckles, they were moving around. So one of them decides to go up into the Balkans and just, take advantage of the scene, not as many apes to contest and or primates, because the ape classifications are a whole different thing. And they're up in Europe kicking it, right? The Graciopithecus, or Grassopithecus, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. New, right?
Could it be that I was just that effective in catching people classified as white in a giant lie? I mean, could that be what was going on? Could that be why it was flagged down? Because I'm looking at this right now and I'm like, God damn, I just showed you in how old humanity is as far as modern science defines it. In a way where I'm defending modern science because you got Dr. Ali Muhammad who's challenging it with, he said it himself, straw man tactics. Just not actually challenging it, but developing something that he can tear down. Burn down, in the case, if you want to get closer to the analogy. So you've seen the 3 million year old thing, all of that. And here you have 7 million, and they're using this, I guess you would call it rhetorical speech. It's just bullshit. Controversial? It's not controversial. 7 million years is way older than humanity. And if you look at how humanity is defined, human is defined as building, inventing, using tools. You found teeth. So it's not controversial. They are lying. This is bullshit. Could this be why the video was flagged down? Because I was straight up demonstrating how they lie to you. The History Channel, Science News, Daily Telegraph, Newsweek, bullshitting you. They flower up the speech talking about it's controversial when it's not. It's only controversial if I point out the fact that it's not and that they're bullshitting you. This is the miseducation of the albino, classified as white.
The media takes this, and we're talking 7 million years. So that's back in this era. All these others are found in Africa. Orangutans might still be Africa, because this is like orangutan ancestors. Going back to proconsul. They're using the term human when this is before humans. Humans 3 million years ago at the oldest. This is pre-human. And this is the only, and this circulated like this meme. I didn't make this meme. Reminds me of Pepe. He kind of got that peppy thing, like same goofy looking eyes. Like I'm the first human ancestor, Pepe. That would be a cool cartoon. Graciopithecus and Pepe. This is why I don't think you can't compete with the miseducation of the albino, man. I'm sorry, Dr. Ali Muhammad, you can't compete with this. Controversial. First of all, it ain't controversial. What's controversial about it? suggest earliest humans lived in Europe. History Channel, and man, the History Channel ain't about shit, but when they put based on a true story before that Bible, all they are, the History Channel is just a propaganda piece for white supremacy and Christianity. The Daily Telegraph, or Telegraph UK, Europe, the birthplace of mankind, not Africa. Scientists find European fossils may belong to the earliest known hominid. At least they didn't say human. They got that right, but earliest known, that isn't true. There's hominids that go back further than that. This reminds me of the Abu Sir test. Check out the second video of that, Truth About Ancient Egyptian Genetics and Why I Edited Wikipedia series. Check out the second video. Smithsonian, Yahoo, MSN, all the MSNs, Reuters, and this shows like all the different hominids up to Graciopithecus, making it seem like Graciopithecus. This is from one of the articles. This is the oldest. A lot of them stop at 7 million years. And look, 2017 in Kenya, this is found. So Graciopithecus had his day in the sun. The miseducation of the albino pipped his ass. And you got to look at what is behind this. See, with Dr. Ali Muhammad, it comes down to the fear of death, in my opinion. That's why he refuses to believe. Instead of, saying that he doesn't believe based on this, it's I refuse to believe, so I need to just find some stuff. And his search for some stuff didn't work. It was just wrong. And theories based on things that are wrong. Is there a word for that? Because a theory is based on facts. What if you build something based on something that's wrong, that isn't factual? Just bullshit. Proconsul goes back like 15 million. Proconsul was a hominid. That's proconsul. Recreation. I gotta say, you just can't compete. You can't compete with the miseducation of the albino. Because we talking the History Channel, MSN, Newsweek, Yahoo. What's there? See, with them, it's not the fear of death. It's like a xenophobia. They can't keep this conspiracy. Like, I don't know what Dr. Ali Muhammad is talking about. Like, according to him, all of these bones is a conspiracy to push evolution. And then backtrack, take somebody who is genetically black, Neanderthal over here, I think that's Neanderthal, and then say that there's a conspiracy to say that they can. You see what I mean? Like, it's all, when it comes to just balls in the hand wrong, you can't really top the miseducation of the Negro. When they go off with it, if you don't believe me, look at YK the Truth's top 10 video on young Pharaoh. Like, when the miseducation of the Negro gets going, it's hard to stop. But the albino, just that it's a cold little white supremacy gimmick to just say, oh, the human race, oldest ancestors in Europe. And it's not even the oldest hominid. Like that, they're both nested wrong, nested fallacies. It's just one controls the media and the other one controls hip hop. I got to end it right there. Have a good night. Yeah, I got to end it there because I was kidding when I said one controls hip hop. Unfortunately, and this could change the moment the artists grow testicles, the albino controls the media and hip hop.
That's the video that got flagged down. Do you hear any hate speech? If so, write it down. Let me know. Have some dialogue. From what I've seen, this came about based on white nationalists. And the dude that was going through my old tweets and misrepresenting them, his account is down because he was doing worse to others. You know, that was something I noticed because I went through some of his tweets. I went through about a week of his tweets, if that. You know, I was thinking this guy, he's too sick with it. Like, he was just sick with the whole, he was going to find him some goddamn video game inventor, to the point where he was dealing with the video game system that didn't even have video or audio. I mean, it came with decals. Like, you would have to peel these motherfuckers off of another screen and then put it on your television, talking about you playing video games. I mean, and I wasn't fitted to argue about some goddamn air conditioning. But the oldest air conditioning patent that, I'm going to say it's the oldest that exists, but I found one by Latimer that was older than the one he was presenting by patent. And I'm not even passionate about this. Really, I have no message to YouTube. You do what you want to do. But I will say, I am asking people who watch this video to point out hate speech and where it occurs. I did not change the video at all. I was thinking about maybe shortening it, but I thought, you know what, if I put too many edit marks that weren't there before, somebody who may have downloaded will be able to show that, hey, stuff is missing, you know. So I didn't edit it. It's the exact same video. Point it out. Otherwise, do not flag it and say that there is. Because what you're doing is you're just carrying on with a target assignment to flag down videos, not because there's hate speech, but because you don't like what they're saying. Then you have a freedom of speech issue. But beyond that, you don't like that I pointed out the miseducation of the albino classified as white.